Okay, so today we are going to make a tutu out of tulle. So I'll be using yellow tulle because I'm going to be making a Belle tutu. So you will need some elastic. I would recommend, this is probably about an inch, 1/3. Depends on how wide you want your strap to be, but you don't want it super skinny. And then you probably will need 2 to 4 of these depending on how long you're making it and how big the waist is for the person that you're making it for. Okay, so the first thing you'll do is you'll need to measure the waist of the individual and then cut the elastic accordingly for the person that you're making the tutu for. Okay, so her waist is about 28 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and take the elastic, measure to, I'm going to do 28.5 to give me a little bit of room to sew it. And we'll just cut that off there. And then we'll just use the sewing machine to close that off because we want it to be a circle. You can trim off these extra strings. Okay, and then we have our elastic that we'll be working with to make the tutu. So from here, you have to decide how long you want it to be. So I've measured from where the elastic will hit down to how long I want it to go. And you have to double it because you're going to tie the tulle. So I want it to be about 12 inches long. So then I'll give me an additional inch for tying it. So we're going to do 13 inches long. So that'll be 26 inches for each of my strips of tulle. And from there, you're just going to cut a whole bunch of these. Once you've got some cut, you can go ahead and get started. So we're going to take one piece of tulle and our elastic. You're going to slide the tulle underneath the elastic with the loop. Then you're going to take everything on top and pull it through. And you're going to tighten this up so it's knotted right onto this elastic. And it will just hang down like that. And keep repeating all the way through until you've covered the entire elastic with the tulle. Okay, so you just keep adding and adding and adding until it's completely full. You can make it as thin or as full as you want. Obviously, the fuller you make it, the more tulle that you'll use, but just keep adding until the elastic is covered. And then you have your skirt. We have the tutu all finished. Because this is a costume that's supposed to be Belle, I'm going to go ahead and add some ribbon. So this is a little bit sheer, but I think it is darker than the tulle, so I feel like you can see it pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and every 13 inches, I'm going to tie a knot around the ribbon so that it will give it a nice pucker. And then I'm going to go ahead and hang up the tutu and just glue it to the tulle, measuring from the bottom. So first thing with this part is going ahead and measuring 13 inches and adding the little knot. For just a second. So I'm just going to take some yellow thread, kind of gather it up where that pin was, and I'm just going to take my thread and loop it around and then tie a knot. So let me show you what that does for me. So then it gives me a nice kind of gathered section so that when I glue it, I'll just glue it at each of these, and then I'm going to add a little gem on top of this so it will hide the knot. Or you could just leave it blank if you wanted to do that. So either way, I think that would look really cute. So then this will be at the bottom of the tutu. Okay, now that I have added the gather spots on the ribbon, we're going to go ahead and glue it onto the tutu. I think it'll be easier to attach it with it hanging up rather than laying it down, trying to get it on the same height. I think it'll be easier hanging up. So that's what we're going to go try. So what I'm going to do is probably have it be about 6 inches from the bottom. And so I'll just measure from the bottom every single time. And I want to start roughly in the center. That's where I want this one that I need to knot. So I'm going to go out from there and maybe, let's decide, 9 inches. And then right here. It's the first one. Let me see how that's going to look. I think prior to gluing it, it might be better to pin it. Pin it all the way around, make sure that it's going to look good, and then go ahead and actually glue it. Okay, now that we have it all pinned, we're going to go ahead and just put a dab of glue on where each of the ribbons gathered so that it will stay attached. So I'm going to pull this out, trying to leave the pin so that I have a reference of where to put it back. And just put a little bit of glue. Okay, now that we have them all connected, you could just leave it like that. I really don't feel like they blend in pretty well, and you really can't see the glue. But I'm going to go ahead and just finish it off and add a little gem at each of these where it's gathered at each, where the ribbon's gathered. I'm going to add, and I'm just going to go ahead and glue it on right on top of that ribbon, just to give it a little more bling. Because every little girl loves bling, even big girls too.
Like and subscribe.